Yeah, so you literally just kind of have to watch it. You can use these banners, and you can say we'll be starting shortly. You you can use that, and it'll drop your questions in the chat. Or yeah, you can go drop them.
Oh, then you want me to tell you what before after?
Okay, you can kind of move it as you need.
Okay, what happened with the computer? Yes. One person signed up for speaking, so we should announce at the beginning of the meeting if they need it in 5 minutes. I just have to the sign is right here. And there's also lunch available.
Testing, testing, yeah, testing. Good, welcome everyone, good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to get started shortly. I'm going to give a few moments for folks that are walking in, find a seat. You will be engaging with the folks that you sit with, so maybe it's an opportunity to sit with somebody new, somebody or a collaborator you've been hoping to talk with. So next start shortly. So maybe I'll just share a few things so you can settle in to make sure you know all the resources we have around us. Just want to start off by thanking our host, the food bank. We're very excited to be hosting our meeting in this beautiful room. We have the restrooms to my right. You pretty much that's unlocked. You can kind of go through and you'll see the restrooms on the right. We have the food to my left. There's delicious looking wraps, sandwiches, chips, and I'm sure there are drinks somewhere over there as well. Okay. And then if anybody would like interpretation services, we will support you. So si alguien ocupa interpretación, nomás puede ir para atrás con la muchacha Marisa de blanco y le vamos a poder ayudar. Don't be shy, come right in. We'll get started. Again, I cannot express how grateful we all are that you are spending time with very busy days to be here in the middle of the workday. That's often how it goes for a lot of the folks that do this work, right? So thank you so much. My name is Daniela Flores. I'm the executive organizer of Imperial Equity and Justice Coalition. I'm one of the organizations, one of the co-conveners for the CERF.
With the CERF program. I'm happy to be here following today and looking forward to hearing everyone's input.
Hi everyone, Katia Lopez on behalf of the CCB team.
Hi everyone, my name is Lorna Avila and I'm a policy advocate for CCB and I'm also supporting with CERF.
Yes.
Hello everyone. Hi, my name is Nadia Apple. Thank you everyone for being here with us and joining this meeting. I really appreciate it. I'm also with CCD with Economic Justice. But I think you can hear me very well. Again, my name is Nadia Apple. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I am with CCD Economic Justice.
So I'm just going to go here so that you can see the rest of our co-conveners, some folks that we're working in partnership with other co-conveners in San Diego. So Universidad Popular, SCCS, and the San Diego Regional Policy and Innovation Center. Those are San Diego specific partners. But of course, the San Diego and Imperial County State Council, that's also a co-convener, supports locally. So we're really happy to be part of this collective with you all. And so I'll go back to the beginning just to give you a sense of what we'll be doing today. So some of you, I know, you've been to the informational sessions that we had last month. This is pretty much a continuation of that, but now we're starting to, meet as sectors. People within the community-based organizations sector that are here today, obviously have very specific interests, have very specific experiences, and strategies that they want to move forward in this process. So that's why the state has proposed this structure. So we'll be talking a little bit more about what that means, but we will start with an exercise to help us start talking about those ideas, help us bring a little bit about those developments that we've always wanted to see in our community that could be a potential opportunity for the CERF process. I'll be sharing some brief background about what CERF is, how you can be involved, how you can become a coalition member, and then there are upcoming opportunities for additional organizations to play leadership roles as sector leads. So we'll talk to you about that, and then we'll be able to share some very tangible examples of what can we expect from the CERF process. What are some tangible things that we can see in our community as a result of participating in this process, and then give you a sense of what's to come. So with that, we can start with the first exercise that will get us all working together. You're set up in a way that hopefully it's easy to hear one another across where you're sitting. And we'd like to just spend 10 minutes dreaming together a little bit. Instructions are here, but Imperial Valley has this historic chance to use these state funds to address, again, a lot of the needs that I think we all know about so deeply, and this is an opportunity for you to start sharing with each other. What is it that you're dreaming? What kind of developments or needs do you feel like should be prioritized, and strategies we can figure out later, but just dream for a moment and talk about those, the kind of developments that you'd like to see. And so with that, I'm going to give you back some time to just introduce one another. There's going to be some people from the co-conveners sitting at the different tables, and we'll be able to kind of help facilitate that discussion. One of the
Oh, yeah. There, Danielle. Danielle.
All right, guys, I'm going to bring this all back in, and we'll have part two for this discussion. So You can pick it up from where you left off and you have additional questions to consider. So let's do a quick share out so that we can hear what others are talking about. In our table, I know there's just so many issues that we're dealing with, but the opportunity to dream is certainly one to hear from others. So we're going to start hearing from this table here.
That's a good one.
Alright, we're sitting here. Hello. Okay, so our concerns are transportation, education, and housing. For paths forward for first-time home buyers. Self-help programs for first 5 years home buyers. Financial literacy for our community to get into these programs. Infrastructure to support the housing that we would like to see. Water infrastructure services. Light rail. Light rail is something that we really elaborated on, Sarah talked about. Start small, but keep it growing. Like
Phase 1 light rail from Raleigh to Nyland to wherever the new projects are in Imperial Valley. Because that little tiny road can't handle all that new traffic. We don't even know where those people are going to live yet. But there needs to be some, we're going to call ourselves Lithium Valley, but we're not using lithium to power anything. Cars are expensive, homes are expensive. We can't expect people with such a high poverty rate in the county to buy homes and cars. So if we can provide light rail, at least for this new industry, is phase 1. Phase 2 would be to link the valley in light rail. College to college, hospital to hospital, wherever they end up being. But a loop around the county so you could get places faster and you don't have to spend an hour on a bus to get from Calexico to college. And then phase 3 would be to connect Imperial Valley to San Diego by rail, so that our veterans can get to the medical centers in San Diego, our students can get to other college classes besides what we offer here, and we can then become a veteran community for San Diego for those people who can't afford homes there. It would expand our tax base to allow us to do the things that we really need to do here, because we all know we don't have enough people here to support all the things that we need. So that's a long-range plan.
It's a great vision from this table. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, at my table I have this from Imperial Valley, well mostly it's youth organization, a community member. I haven't gotten to connect to all of my team, unfortunately we have gotten carried away with discussion, but I do have economic development here, youth so far, and we've talked about goals related to developing our community in all ways, and that starts with the youth narrative that we create for the youth, schools that we would like to implement, reader that is already established here in certain areas. And that would be my thing right here. Who would like to start with this table?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jose. Our table discussion was around infrastructure. We did talk about maybe like a depot or like a development, a place where you can have like a port of entry type thing. We have maybe expanding our border trade and then having it be shipped out here. The Imperial Valley produces 1% of the world's farming, so we have we have crops being shipped out faster. We have taxes on like the lithium project also being kind of like the infrastructure that she was talking about, the light rail, connecting communities. We did talk about facility improving public facilities, access to parks, and we talked about the obstacles that we see in Calexico and in Calapat. The school facilities are not no longer available to the public, and that puts very little space for recreational activities for the people that live in the communities. We talked about how much they're used in areas like Calexico. There's games, there's soccer games from where there's daylight to evening. I see them play out there at 11 o'clock at night, and there's need for that space. One of the things we talked about was education, developing our I like to emphasize that in our valley we do have a lot of talent that comes out of here, and a lot of times they go away to school and they never come back because we don't have the economical the diversity to support those type of jobs that they get. We see it all the time. We see our real resources, the people that are here and they leave because they have the opportunities in other places. It's not their fault.
Absolutely, I think those are all very much shared experiences across. Thank you to that group for those visions.
And then we talked about we're part of Black Lives Matter, and we help the homeless, so we want to alleviate homelessness by creating an office, like an assistance and resource center for the homeless and low people to come and get provided tailored support that can help them regain stability and join them. And then we also talked about someone that wants to start an organization that facilitates things for special needs individuals that are overlooked, and that And lastly, we talked about, like he said, more vocational training for the valley because we have no trade schools, everything's very limited, and they keep pushing like law enforcement jobs when there's more out there.
Thank you so much. And yes, one more addition.
Hi, I'm Crystal with the ACLU. So I agree with everything that was said. I think there's more need to have different jobs that are actually high wage jobs to be able to sustain our families, especially because of the housing prices going up really high, and also just the cost of living. So just having those opportunities for diversity in terms of jobs and also high wage jobs.
Thank you so much, everyone. And then I know, folks, you all walked in while we were starting the discussion, but if you have any thoughts, either reflections of your own or other additions to what folks shared, I have no worries. Thank you all for sharing your visions with each other, with all of us. I think the concept of our economy and how we develop it sometimes feels out of reach, but the folks that are on the ground, the CEOs that are on the ground like yourselves and residents really, we deserve to have ownership over that economy, and so I'm grateful for your visions. I'm gonna just to share, I know some of you might have heard this already a lot, but it is a pretty, for me at least, it's been a complex program to understand, especially because the state of California is the first time that they do anything like it. So we will continue to kind of share information to make sure we're all continuing to understand it together. But CERF, we often just use the acronym, but it stands for the California Economic Resiliency Fund. And it's an investment of $600 million from the state of California. And in bold, you'll see some of the objectives, and it's to have an inclusive regional planning process to prioritize the development of high priority economic development projects that benefit disadvantaged communities, that create high road jobs, so high quality jobs and to transition to a net zero economy. And I know in California we're doing a lot for that. And we are, as you mentioned, Sarah, in Lithium Valley, and so there's a lot for us to consider as we transition into that industry. That investment, the $600 million investment, is broken up into pieces. 65 million of those are being dedicated for planning grants during the first phase. And then, it's meant to help all of us work together on identifying which priority or how can we create address multiple for the CERF program. There are 13 regions all over the state, and we're part of Southern Border region, so we work with San Diego County. So there will be this level is like the local level, right? We're here in Imperial Valley. We will have sub-regional and then regional tables. So sometimes you're going to meet with for the sub-regional, you'll be meeting with all the other sectors in Imperial Valley. Then sometimes we want to meet regionally to hear from our partners in San Diego. So all of the 15 sectors here in Imperial will meet with all the sectors in San Diego in some cases. And I'll list those out in a second. Those are the 15 sectors I keep alluding to. So labor, worker centers, educators, workforce development, economic development, government, philanthropy, LGBTQ folks, youth, Native American tribes, CBOs, citizen communities, and environmental justice organizations. So those are all in, and the work, our identities are intersectional, so you might see that you have interest in multiple sectors, and you can certainly be participating in as much as you have bandwidth for. And you are, if you end up signing the form to be a coalition member, which pretty much just means that you agree to kind of the bylaws that have been recommended by co-conveners that have all kinds of principles to ensure an inclusive process, and everyone has access to those bylaws. And if you don't, we'll share where to find those. And yeah, that's a little bit more about where you come in, right? So you'll see these 15 meetings. You can trust that the slides will be the same at those meetings, but the people around will be a little bit different. So if you do have interest in multiple, you might take it out to different sector meetings just because you'll want to connect with the stakeholders that are coming into those different sectors. And so I know it sounds very formal to become a coalition member, but it's actually really easy. It's only a couple of questions. You all have QR codes in your tables, and you can do that. It's definitely feasible to complete as you're sitting there working on different items. And it really has more information about our vision. And if you think that sounds like an exciting thing that you want to be a part of, you just kind of have to put your name, your email, so that we can for participation. We want to make it as easy as possible. We would love your feedback about meeting times. We're trying to guess what's best based on our own lived experiences and what we hear from people, but certainly there's no reason why we can't host 2 CBO meetings. It doesn't work at 12 for some folks. You can let us know. For CBOs, it's going to be important to have one every time they have one in the daytime. It should be in the evening. You just kind of let us know. We are here to customize this so that you can participate. I know at today's meeting they were talking about having participant incentives, and so we'll come back with some of that information. We want to make sure that that's not a burden, in order for you to participate. Interpretation and food, we'll bring the food so that, you don't have to count on that lunch or bringing your own. We'll have all that for you. And again, the links to the bylaws are there. It's a very long document, but if you want more information, more synthesized, we also have some slides that have summaries, and we can share those with you as well. And so yeah, you pretty much have that when you fill out the form, you're going to be asked to select the primary sector that you most identify with, and then a secondary one. And again, choosing 2 doesn't mean you're not able to participate in all others, but maybe just ask you to kind of make a decision around the top 2. I'm just like talking a lot, but are there any kind of questions that are coming up? And do we have a timer, or should I just look it? Yep. Okay, I'll hear this.
So I'm just trying to clarify my mind. This is a sector meeting, but then you talk about coalition members. So sector members, imagine are coalition members, and come together at some point in time to share their.
Absolutely. So yeah, being a member, a resident can be a member, or a member of an organization can be a member, anyone can be a member.
But does it, so the sector member automatically makes the coalition?
Yeah, because to be a sector member, you pretty much submit the coalition form. Yeah. Any questions? Okay. I just thought, I know I shared lots of info, and so you can certainly stop me.
So coalition membership is like the umbrella term. So everyone that submits a membership form will be a coalition member. But in addition, based on the sector that you choose, you'll also be a member of that sector.
Will sector meetings also be available via Zoom?
So we have them all. We're gonna do our best to live stream everything so that you can always go back for transparency purposes. We want to make sure that they're online where you can access them. Our bylaws have that to the extent possible, we should do hybrid meetings. The main challenge in Imperial Valley for hybrid meetings is connectivity. A lot of the buildings that we use don't have good broadband or Wi-Fi, and it makes it really hard to communicate. But we are recognizing that that's a need and looking for ways around it, identifying the venues that are most friendly to hybrid meetings, because we understand sometimes it's really hard to kind of participate if it's only in person, right? So certainly we're working our way to try to do as much of that as possible. The youth meeting that's happening next week on Wednesday at 4:30, that will be hybrid. So that's going to be our first kind of testing the waters with the hybrid meeting in these formats. Okay, so I'll share more about what it means to be part of the sector. So everyone that's here in the room, right, can kind of expect to start, if you're able to engage, you can expect that we would have meetings at the frequency that this group decides. Everyone's working towards some milestones, right? At the end of December, I'll show the timeline, there's a milestone that we're working towards, and that's that initial phase. We want to put the regional salary together, there's our labor market analysis. We're pretty much doing a lot of data analysis and synthesis, and we will have the support of external researchers that will be, doing this on behalf of the sectors with your direction and recommendations. And so you will kind of decide how frequently you want to meet, but we are hoping to identify sector leads. So it would be, an organization, if you're sitting here and you say, you know what, I want to create some bandwidth to help coordinate these meetings. Co-conveners will always work with the sector leads to help them coordinate everything. But we want to share the power, the leadership opportunities, and make sure that the meetings are being conducted in the ways that sector leads that are experts in their sector are able to kind of recommend. So as CEOs, you make a recommendation, and there will be a stipend of $1,000 that's given to the sector lead, so that you are able to create bandwidth, right? It's like compensated, then you're able to hopefully dedicate some time to that, and working with the co-conveners to move these meetings forward. And so, in addition to whatever frequency of meeting you decide, we will have, right now it's proposed for quarterly meetings. You would meet quarterly with all the other sectors, and then with the sectors in San Diego. Those would be quarterly. And of course, that sector leads is supposed to kind of encourage other organizations that are not here. The table can be as long as everyone wants. There's no reason why an organization, would be excluded. Encourage and follow up with coalition members, so helping us ensure people have what they need to participate. There will be reviewing of priorities, and that sector lead will, help inform all of that. And of course, there will be big documents that get developed, and those are the regional plans. And want to make sure that folks the sector lead is helping to get your input on like what you think of that plan, what's missing, and where else needs to go to. And of course, the person that you select, that doesn't mean that they make all the decisions. It means that sector lead is to facilitate decision making within that sector. And so that representative, ends up going to the regional table to vote, and they will vote for, to approve the regional plan. But, that sector lead won't just make the decision and that table say, yes or no. No, that sector lead is to come back to the space and say, okay, how do we feel about that plan? Do you all, how do we feel? What's our position? And then work together to arrive at a consensus regarding that position.
I feel like I missed something. So, what is a regional plan? What is being constructed in putting together a regional plan?
I'm going to skip to this really quick because it has that just bullets of what the main components. And so that is due at the end of the year, and it's a regional summary. Folks that might be familiar with those big applications to get $1 million kind of projects funded, they always ask you to describe what it's like in this place, right? And so it's a regional summary of our conditions here. There's also a labor market analysis, an industry cluster analysis, which, to be honest, I don't know myself fully like what that entails, so we're going to learn together what these big words mean, and then the SWOT analysis, which is the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats analysis, very jargony, but we will make those into like really tangible conversations that will be breaking them down. So that's what we're working towards for the end of the year. But of course, for the part 2, phase 2, is that's where once we have our analysis, we all understand kind of like what the conditions are here comprehensively across sectors. We end up putting strategies together. What are the priorities, and the strategies will be defining those together. So 6 months later, after we put that initial data assessment, you have all 6 months to work together to arrive at strategies for what you're going to prioritize in your community and what scope process.
So, for example, once we have the regional summary, labor market analysis, industry cluster analysis, and SWOT analysis, then we could say, well, let's do the light rail.
Perhaps there's one more step before we arrive at that. That would be like strategies of like, you end up not describing projects at that point, but strategies. So we talked about housing a lot. So you could pretty much, you're not going to propose how exactly, but you can start to delineate. We want to ensure that as industry grows here, that we are prioritizing, increasing access to housing, that we can start making more tangible and localized through strategies, even if we don't know what the proposal will get. But it's kind of, we're all committing that this is the top approach that we need to have for our region.
And this is San Diego and Imperial County together with that.
Yeah, and it'll be very localized to Imperial, but of course, it'll come together as a region. And there's an opportunity, and I know we talked a little bit about this, for us to propose strategies that bind us to San Diego, like the rail, right? That would be a thing that we need buy-in from the San Diego folks to ensure that it's their priority to connect us, right? And so there's a little bit of like self-advocacy we have to do in Imperial for ourselves because, we know what it's like to be paired up with San Diego, a huge population there, and what ends up happening to us here when there's not attention to that equity piece. These are exactly what we hope to talk with you today, so it starts to be more tangible what we're hoping to do here. But let's see, yeah, we had another exercise, and maybe we'll just do a quick check. I know folks, it's in the middle of the day, so I really do want to kind of end on time. So maybe we just that end is for you to consider those questions, and if you're able to talk with folks, have that dialogue. But the quality of that regional plan, and that's all we've been talking about just now, is dependent on community engagement and on how many people we are able to bring to the table so that their ideas are included. And so we want to recommend reports that reflect our needs. And so we ask that you join the sector, that you share from your both lived and professional experience, equally so important. We can host more events to share this information about the coalition. We can have small meetings, big meetings, whatever kind of meetings you think will help ensure that folks that you want to be at the table are there. And again, we're of assistance essentially. The co-conveners are here to facilitate that, and yeah, we talked about that last point regarding the input we hope that those plans have. So again, timeline, it's a very aggressive timeline, and the co-conveners have been advocating to the state of California that we've never done this in this way, and that it's taking us some time, and you can count on us. If there's any wiggle room on timeline, you can count on the co-conveners asking for that grace, and that understanding of what it takes. I'll be honest, it was a whole process to build relationships with folks in San Diego in a way that was, meaningful, and that there's a lot of history, and it took some time to get to a place where we could collaborate. And so we want to move at a pace that is responsive to where we're at. And so again, if you have thoughts about that pace, continue to tell us, because we are there to uplift your thoughts, and you're always welcome to join us on anything that we do. We don't ask for any of that because we know we're kind of taking the load on your behalf, but we'll always be transparent about everything, and you're always welcome to say, you know what, I have time and I want to go and I want to hear exactly how they're communicating. When they're not listening to you all or whatever, you come along with us, and you are on Zoom, and so you can just hop on and there's no problem for that. So yeah, I think we have 10 more minutes, and we had another activity, and I'll just say, we can take 5 minutes before we fully break. Take 5 minutes to talk about this next question. So we're going to hear some tangible projects that I think we've already talked about, so many that you all described from your visions. I'll show you some other examples to consider, and then I'll give you just the final 5 minutes for you to consider a question and dialogue with one another. And then, of course, help you make your way to, I know you must have another thing at 1 p.m., and I know you're kind of on the go. So right here, just one final slide with more other examples, where we're trying to digest what is CERF. Cities or the county has a transit plan, right? The government, the way it works, as I'm starting to learn, and how maybe others are as well, they won't fund anything unless there's a plan. Makes sense, it's highly bureaucratic, but they need to kind of see what we're hoping, what we're proposing, and so they do give money to make plans. Then when there's implementation money, when there's money to carry out the vision of that program or that proposal, then that's another phase for application of funds. Again, highly bureaucratic, it's really intense, but everyone, even in ICTC, and everyone has to engage in those planning processes in order to eventually get certain projects, capital, big projects funded. Upward Bound is a program that a lot of us have maybe heard of. They needed to put a plan together and get those funds in that way. For workforce training programs, I know there's some here in development, there's a lot of our partners in San Diego. Folks need to put those a local workforce plan and strategies, and then really make the case for why we need certain programs and certain funding to support that. And then right now, the County of Imperial is working on a specific plan in order to kind of designate, with lithium happening, it's in the southeast end of the Salton Sea, and there's I want to say thousands of acres that they are going to essentially transform the purpose of them. There were previously a lot of ag, and then some that I'm not sure, there's currently like geothermal. And so they're currently defining how is every acre able to be used moving forward in the promotion of certain industries or certain community benefits. And so those decisions are currently being made. And so they're developing a plan so that when developers are here and they're trying to do something, they have a guiding principle of exactly what will be allowed. So again, a few examples of how CERF really does relate to our everyday. And then the final thing is, I know it says 20 minutes, but we won't be doing the 20 minutes. I'll just say we have 5 minutes as we wrap up. Just talk to your neighbor and kind of consider this question of, you have some more concepts about what CERF is and the opportunities that it brings. And you could kind of think about what like ideas that you have about specific projects. And I think you all already did an amazing job at even starting to think about this. So if you have other ideas that you want to share, other ideas that you want to make sure that we document into our notes document, let us know. That one of the facilitators know we're having a brief dialogue, and while the facilitators there, we'll take your notes down. And I will open it one more time for questions, just because I want to hear from you. We have thoughts, questions, reflections. Open to any of that. Or, close the hand. Or I'm like waiting to hear some thoughts. No, I'm just kidding. It is kind of scary to also speak out to the big room, and so I'm just grateful for all the participation. It's been a really wonderful meeting, and from one CBO to another, I know how incredibly busy and taxing this work is, and just thank you for your commitment in our community, and thank you for going to yet another meeting, because it really can make a difference. And so we hope that you'll be able to, there's iPads around the room, and so make sure you get the QR codes so that if you want to be a coalition member, it takes 2 minutes. You can use this time to do that as well. And we'll be going around to iPads if you want some assistance. We can help you sign up as well. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.